I think, yeah, really interesting question. I think I'm probably going to cover a little bit of what James has just talked about there.
Absolutely.
But I think uh, you know, new government in power, new leadership, new people working in will require people in the working sector, public sector, whether that be contractors, civil servants, consultancies, to adapt to these new priorities and pledges. There's, inevitably there's a transition period, and there's potentially new ways of working, and I guess the Labour government has it's a very unique point in time, isn't it? It's not often in this country where we have um, such a big majority, such a big change in terms of priorities, away from what we had before into what this new Labour government is at least trying to achieve. Whether or not they do is obviously remains to be seen. But I think there are some things that you can do to adapt to that as best as possible to this new world, and try to, I guess, ride the wave as best you can to be a part of it, to benefit from it, in terms of where these potential opportunities are. So I'll try not to cover. I'll try to cover some of the things that James hasn't already mentioned. But I think number one is stay informed and adaptable, continuous learning. The making sure that you're developing yourself as much as possible, making sure you're aware of what other people do within within the department, within the organisation that you're working for, to stay adaptable. Whether that be policies, technologies, best practice, and policy awareness, is really important as well. Understanding where the potential policy changes and priorities might be, adapt to those new things. Again, sounds quite obvious, but again, it's just part of the conversation. Um, Covering a little bit of what James said, but just briefly, embracing innovation and technology, digital transformation, utilizing digital tools. As James mentioned already, moving from paper sometimes to tech, moving from using one operating system to using another one. It's this tech is coming whether we like it or not sometimes, and I think trying to be a part of that change as opposed to sometimes battling against it is something that we need to embrace. It improves efficiency and enhances service delivery at the end of the day. Data driven decision making, in that as well, leveraging data analytics to inform decisions, predict trends, measure the impact of policies and programs. That's all stuff that other people did before, because it was all very techy and very, but now you've got things like ChatGPT and you've got things that are a lot more accessible. I'm not saying rely completely on those kinds of things, but it can keep you informed and it can help you to make better decisions. And so, whether or not you want to train in something or just keep yourself up to date with something, embracing that technology is can be really, really helpful. Fostering collaboration and networking. Again, James sort of briefly mentioned it as well, but interdepartmental collaboration. I think everyone on this call, from Keystream can say that they've been part of programs where they've maybe just worked with one department who have implemented something that's cost them millions of pounds, and another department are about to embark on the same thing, and they're not talking, and actually it's failed over here, but they're about to do the exact same thing. And so collaboration, meeting with people, going for a beer or a coffee or a drink or whatever, and collaborating can be really, really powerful. And there's a lot more openness in that, I would say, within government to try and do that, but it only happens if people talk. And within that as well, public partnerships, public-private partnerships, even, engaging with the private sector, to again find that synergy. We've sort of covered that already, but private sector are spending a lot more money on AI and research and development than public sector at the moment, but it is moving heavily in that direction. Again, if you read the manifesto, trying to embrace technology is going to be right at the heart of it. Strong leadership and management skills. I think if you can develop that in yourself, if you've got it within you, if you think, if you maybe you found that you're good at strategy thinking, or you're good at managing people, or you're good at crisis management, or you can sort of see sometimes where something's going to go wrong and point it out to someone. Develop that within yourself. Go on a Prince2, go on an agile course, because all of that stuff is attractive on CVs. And so those, I think it's becoming a lot more necessary for people to have some kind of leadership capability, and within that, change management as well. It is a separate thing. There's project management and there's change management, and often they can go together. So understanding how organizations have to change to effectively navigate transitions, fostering a culture of adaptability is really, really important. I'm going to move past some of these points just because I don't think we've got that much time. This is an interesting one. Cultivate a positive organizational culture. I think sometimes it can be quite negative. If you find yourself in an organization where it feels like nothing's going right, or you're frustrated with management or whatever, just trying to be positive. Again, it sounds really obvious, but employee well-being is so important, and happy people do good jobs, and so I think just trying to focus on the good things, trying to focus on where organizations are making positive changes, and try and push that, foster that within what you're doing as well, is really important.
Brilliant.
And I think
that's fantastic. Oh, sorry, carry on, Jim. Sorry.
No, all I was going to say was I was going to give a very brief working example within the transport sector, where I've been focusing on a little bit more over the last few months. I've been working with a couple of combined authorities across the UK, and a lot of their funding is in the transport space, and bus franchising is happening across the UK. Transport for Greater Manchester have just done it, and it's sort of an insight, I think, into where organizations have to transform and change, because you look at bus franchising, they're having to take on all of the stuff that the bus operators did before, and all of that stuff is none of the stuff that that these public sector organizations have done in the past, and so they're having to transform quite substantially to get up to date with new technology, with new ways of working, with making decisions really, really quickly, which doesn't happen in the public sector. And so bus franchising, rail franchising, James mentioned it, is happening. Those, the transport industry is a area where you're seeing that level of change and transformation happening really, really rapidly, and really, really potentially really, really positively, and you can sort of see that it's not just in that area, but it's a good microcosm of where that change is happening. And I can talk more about that, but we haven't got much time.